What's up, guys? Quantum League Capital here, and we got another video for you to fucking day. And this is my boy Franz. We're going to be talking about his strategy, what he's used to be profitable over the past couple of months, and what has changed his trading game. So we're going to get straight into it, and I'm going to pass the mic over to Franz so he can introduce himself.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you for having me. I would just like to say that Hunter has been a mentor to me. When I first started, I was always losing, and I think he knows how many accounts I've lost. But the mindset really changed when I started looking at it as an opportunity rather than just a trading day by day. Right. So when you start looking at things as an opportunity, you start being more careful and you really start taking it seriously. It's a mindset thing for me. Right. A lot of the things that I've learned with trading forex is really through Hunter and YouTube, really.
Shout out our boy Corey.
Yeah.
Shout out Corey.
Yeah,
Shout out
Corey as well is another mentor that helped me throughout this whole process with trading forex. So really the strategy that I use is just a lot of it is a lot of pullback scalping kind of thing, right? And I think I just mentioned to you earlier that I tend to lose when I try to aim for those bigger movements, right? Because I try to time it as, okay, is this the lowest it's going to go? But when I enter, for example, on a buy and it continues to go down and I have a 10 pip stop loss, that's when I start losing. And then the mindset, okay, I got to get that back. Right? And I showed to you that I made 1,000 as an example today, right? And then all of a sudden I re-entered because I know it's going to go up, but then the movement still was going down, right? So I ended up losing another 1,000 or 1,700, right? So I think the strategy works well for me when I'm just scalping. Okay, I'm up, but the mentality needs to change into, okay, I'm up already. I just need to step away, and if I'm awake, or if I happen to be looking at the market and it hits that bottom or the high and I know the market's going to go up, then yeah, I can enter. But the bad habit comes in. It's like, okay, I think it went down enough, right? I know it's going to go down or it's going to go up now, or vice versa.
So let me ask you this. If you had to say what is your worst bad habit in trading, what do you think is like your worst bad habit and things that you would advise people to pay attention to when they're first starting out and to really make sure that they, take care of this problem early on?
The biggest problem is definitely greed.
Okay.
Right? So when I first started learning, you guys taught me, okay, look at it as a percentage thing, which is a great thing to look at. Right? But as I mentioned earlier when we were talking, I think it really correlates to the dollar amount. Right? When you start looking at it as, okay, most people only make $10 an hour, $20 an hour, right? And then in one trade, maybe 5 minutes, I made $300. $300 in 25 days is $7,500 as we calculated earlier, right?
And think about how quick you make it too. Like, depending on some trades can literally happen so fast, so.
That's right. So I think as a trader that has no experience or knowledge of the verbiage that people use in trading, I think the reason why I have been able to cash out or been able to profit is because I started looking at it that way, right? Number one, I look at it as an opportunity to make money, right? So where else are you going to find a company that's going to give you money to trade to make money? Right,
and with so much profit split, it's unheard of, honestly.
That's correct. So for me as a business owner, my mindset is leverage other people's money to make money, right? So again, it's all a mindset thing. So and then again, looking at it as combination of a dollar amount and a percentage amount. Like for example, okay, I'm only going to lose 1%, but a lot of times when you're up already, you got to put it in perspective. Okay, if I was working a day job, this $500 that I made in 10 minutes, right? Wouldn't you want to just cash out? That's why you've seen my trade. Sometimes I'm trading 5 times, 10 times, a lot of times 15, right? But the winning percentage is almost what, 60-70%, which puts me in the positive or profit.
Yeah, that's a great
Right. Right. So like a lot of times you'll see me cash out $200, $300, right? So really the thing that I'm trying to change to better myself is, okay, just be patient. Be patient. Try to find that good entry for scalping, right? Whether it's the beginning of the day or sometime during the night, right? Enter, make that profit, and stay away.
So another question I have for Franz here is, so one of the things that you said is really big for you is trying to stay patient. You've said this to me over and over. So what would you advise to someone who's just starting out? How do they acquire that patience? Is it just something that's acquired over time, or is there a method to have this patience? What does someone do starting out? What advice would you give them?
One thing that's been working for me is really, again, money's money. Right. The thing that's been really hitting me hard is like, look, I told you I was up 5,000, right? And all of a sudden I'm down, right? And that's because when you lose a trade, it's one of those things, okay, in my head, it's like, I got to get it back. I got to get it back. But in reality, 5,000, if I lost 600, that's still $4,400 that I can cash out at an 85% split, right? So knowing that you're positive should be a good enough treat to yourself that, okay, man, I did good. I might have lost this one, but I'm still positive, right? So now I'm trying to get into my head that, okay, there's still 4 more days, right? And not every single day I need to enter, right? Because now I'm already up 4,500 or 4,400, right? So it's just one of those things like, okay, just really got to be patient. I'm already up. I don't want to lose all of that, right? But again, sometimes, you know, we're people, so we're gonna make mistakes. So like, greed is gonna catch up to you and be like, okay, Franz, this is the time you can make these big movements, right? So now, I think the biggest part of that is stop chasing the big movements. But again, we all have our own different strategies, right? So for me, I'm gonna stop chasing that big movements. If I have an opportunity to try to get into that big movement, then yeah, sure, why not? But I'm not just gonna enter anymore and try to chase that big movement unless I know it's there, or it's at the bottom, or it's the high, right? So,
and what I would say to that is, you know, and it's something I'll show later on, but it really is important for most people to take their profits. And I think one thing that would really help a lot of people, and you know, if I was to give advice to people, is that, you know, try to limit the trades that you take in a day. And that alone would really help you. And it's something that me and Franz talked about, and one of my other friends, Corey, talked about. But, you know, when you make $300 in a day, or you make $400 in a day, or $1,000 in a day, or even in a week, you know, anything that amount, you just have to think in terms of like, this is what I would work in a week, you know, and I would work so many hours to make this. And through trading, it's just like that, you know, and you really have to shift your mindset, because that's what will get a lot of people, because it's such easy money, low key, like, and I know that's like hard for a lot of people to grasp, because they're like, trading's hard and blah, blah, blah. It is hard, right? But when the money's in front of you, why don't you take it? And then like when you get the money, like, why don't you stop? You know? It's not always about getting so much. It's just about being consistent. That's what I would say. And, you know, I think that's something with you as well, is like when you were more consistent, like when you started passing challenges, that's something that I noticed. Like your profits were more consistent. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, I'm like hitting these steady profits and I'm getting this. And it's not like I'm just taking trades and like getting it all at once. Where I think that's where a lot of people get it, you know, a little bit twisted, because they're like, oh, I just, especially people who take challenges, they're like, I want to make this all in like one trade, or like 2 trades or 3 trades. Like they think they're going to get it in the first week, and it's like, nah, it doesn't really work like that. But also, another question I have for you is, have like been through, because you started trading when, like 2020?
I'd say about 2020.
Okay, so 2020. So at the beginning of this year, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on, right? Like Russia, Ukraine, like now we're going through like high interest rates and like talks of like recession and all the things like that. Your trading and like your trading plan, like, does really anything change, or do you adapt to those things, or does everything kind of stay the same for you? Like everything is just, you take those into account and you just do what you do. Like, how do those things affect your trading, like these macroeconomic factors?
So, obviously, news is a big deal, right? That's when the big movements, you see the big movements, right? But the changes in my strategy, as far as going back to just strictly scalping, it doesn't really affect me as much, because if I'm just trying to get like 10 pips, 20 pips, and I'm out, right? Like I'm no longer chasing that big movement, right? So I'm strictly looking at support and resistance. Okay, it hit this resistance, so it's gonna do like a quick pullback. So let me just ride that quick pullback and take that 10, 20 pips, right? And then I'm out. So whatever's happening in the world as far as the currencies, right? It doesn't. Yes, it might affect me, but it's not affecting me as far as those big movements. Okay, I entered and I missed that one. It actually went the opposite way, right? So with scalping, it affects me, but not as much as it would if I was swing trading. Right. So that's
and that's something that I think is important too, is like your strategy, right? That's another perfect thing to touch on is, yeah, if you're in a more short-term trade, those things don't matter, right? Like, obviously you're going to be wanting to watch for the really volatile swings and stuff, and sometimes you get in early and those volatile swings swing in your favor, right? Like you could hit like way past, like if your goal is like 10 to 15 pips a day or whatever, and you get in and there's like big movements, that can aid you and just really blow you past whatever your potential targets were. But yeah, unless you're really into economic factors and like you're trading really long term swing trading, or people who are looking at like daily, weekly, monthly type of time frames, personally I always think you should look at the daily at least and then work your way down from there. But it really just depends on your strategy, and people make strategies work with swing trading, people make strategies work with day trading, and people make strategies work with scalping. So don't let anybody ever tell you that there's only one way to do trading. There's so many ways to do trading, and there's so many people that are successful with different strategies. You just have to find what's working for you. And I think that comes on like an emotional level, a mental level. Like, are you impatient? Well, shit, probably scalping or day trading is for you. Are you more patient and like you don't like to worry about it, like you just want to let things ride? Then swing trading is probably for you. So these are type of factors that you need to really take into account. Now, another question I want to ask you is, so when you started, you met me and Corey and Chris, and we were really onto like the challenge accounts. When you met Chris, he was, I don't know if he was really on the challenge. Okay. I couldn't remember. But like when me and Corey came in, we were definitely on the challenge accounts. And so if you were to recommend to somebody, like once they actually like, found out like about trading and like kind of had their strategy down a bit, what would you recommend to them? Would you recommend like trading their own personal account, or would you recommend just going straight into a challenge account and trying to gain more capital through other people?
As an investor, entrepreneur, I would always suggest to leverage other people's money to make more money, right? So why would you, for example, I was putting $1,000, $2,000 on those personal accounts when I first started, right? But the lots that I could trade was a lot smaller. So my reward was a lot smaller at the time. So for me to grow that as a beginner, that was hard, because you win some, you lose some, you lose more than you win as a beginner, right? So when I found out about the funded accounts, I was like, man, like 85% split of me paying $400 to get a account. Once I pass that, 85% split of something is bigger than what I would have gotten in my personal account, right? So I would highly suggest to, learn how to trade, right? Again, like you said, there's no one way of doing it, right? Practice what you're good at. Whatever works for you works for you. It doesn't mean that it works for everyone else, right? And then get that funded account, get a demo account, and then once you feel confident, then pay for that challenge account because it's totally worth it.
And I have to completely agree with him because I have an interview with FTMO on my YouTube channel as well, where I made basically almost 30K in 1 month with just FTMO. That wasn't including other funded accounts that I had. And it just will complete, if you're ready for it and you do well with it and you have your strategy down, it can make you so much money, so much more money than if you were just trading whatever whatever small amount of money you were probably going to invest. Now, if you have a big amount of money to invest, then sure, you should go in on your own account. But, with that as well, it comes with finding a trusted broker. It comes with finding a broker with good spreads. It comes with so many more things. And these funded companies, which I've made a video on which companies you should look at, which companies are good. You should look into that video if you're interested. And it just makes it so much easier because these companies are legit. I've gotten paid out. Franz has gotten paid out. So many people have gotten paid out from these companies. So they are legit. And another interesting thing that I think you touched on, because you were as an entrepreneur or as a businessman, when I hear that, it just sparks something in my mind where when it comes to trading, and it's something you said earlier as well, is I think trading should 100% be treated like a business. And when you have a business, especially if you're the one running the business, you have to recognize that sometimes you're going to have great months, sometimes you're going to have okay months, and sometimes you're going to have months where you lose money. So let's say you run a business and a piece of equipment breaks on you, you have to pay for that. Oh shit, well my profits didn't make up for that. I just lost money on that. That month you lost money, and that happens in trading, and that's okay. That's normal. Sometimes you don't make any money, sometimes you lose money, and sometimes you make a lot of money. And that's something that you have to recognize, and I think that's something that most new traders don't. They're sold a pipe dream of oh, I'm going to be driving a fucking Lambo, and that's not how it fucking works. And yeah, I'm trying to think of any more questions I have. I can't think of any right now, but is there anything you would like to add, Franz, as we end it here?
I just want to touch base back on what you said, that a lot of people think that it could be done instantly. Right. I can tell you how many times this week I have thought that, okay, with this new challenge account that I'm doing, like I said, being up at 5,000 as an example, I was okay, I'm going to try to finish this today. Right. So during that trade that I think it was about Wednesday or Tuesday, when I was already up 15, on top of being at 105,000, the trade that I was in was already $1,500. Rather than cashing out and being at 6,500, I decided, okay, I'm going to wait it out. I think it's going to continue to go up. And then it just pains you to see that from going 1,500, it starts going down, right? I can tell you how many times, I think it probably happened to me about 15 times this week, to where it was already in the thousands. And rather than cashing out, I'm okay, I'm going to write it out because I want more. Where are you going to see $1,500 or $2,000 in an hour, right? Not many places. So the thing is, after, I think that's the most that happened to me in my trading career. It's I've seen the trade in the thousands, but I'm trying to okay, let me hit more, and then you just watch it go down from 2,800, 200. I was dang it, and then you try to wait for it to go back up, but then the market just completely goes the opposite way, right? So, take your profits. Not a lot of people make these money. This amount of money. So, be patient, treat it as as a business, right? find that right mentality that will work for you. For me, my mentality is, okay, I have to feed my family, right? This has to work, right? On top of other things that I'm doing, everything has to work. So how do I make it work, right? Just be patient, and when you're up, you're up. Just take it, right? And again, greed will get to you sometimes, and sometimes more often than we like. But be patient and always take those profits. 300 a day, or if you correlate the dollar to the percentage, it goes hand in hand, right? A lot of people will say, "Oh, look at forex as a percentage," but for a lot of people that are beginners, it doesn't hurt you to look at it as a dollar amount, because again, when you're looking at this percentage, you're waiting for it to hit a bigger number than what you actually need for that day. Okay, so I think that's all I have.
Okay. Well, we'll basically wrap this up here. I think there were a lot of gems in here. One of the things I think we didn't really touch, well, we kind of did in some of these topics, but psychology is definitely a big thing, and that is basically related to mindset. And guys, and coming down to like taking your profits and especially when it comes to emotions like greed or fear, and those are the two main emotions when it comes to trading, is greed and fear. It's like, oh, like I want to get more money, right? That's the greed. Or you're like, oh, like this trade is going horrible, like I need to close right now. That's the fear, right? And those are the two main emotions that you have to look out for. And one thing that I would recommend to a lot of people that are beginners, and I don't know if you do this, Franz, but it's something that I did in the past that I've started again recently, even though I'm a more experienced trader. I would say that having a trading journal to not only log your trades, but how you're feeling during these trades when you enter them and when you exit them will help you tremendously. Because what you will notice is when you start writing this out, you will notice patterns of your mentality. You will notice like, oh, I got greedy on this trade. And then you'll see like 3 or 4 trades where that happened, and you're like, fuck, why do I keep doing that? Or it will be fear, vice versa. So you'll notice these patterns, and a lot of things in trading are just patterns, guys. Even in technical analysis, even in fundamental analysis, because the economy moves in cycles, and even in your mental, because things repeat themselves. So that would be one of the biggest things that I would say could help you with your mentality and your psychology to help you not fall victim to those traps. And yeah, that's kind of what I would wrap it up here. And I want to thank Franz for being here and showing his perspective. He's been a successful trader, and he's been doing really good. And thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more. Peace.
Thanks, guys.